Let's see what's going on here. Okay. This is all new to me, guys. Bear with me. Let's see. Content. Live. How do I view this thing? If anybody's watching this, forgive me. I'm I'm lost. I am completely lost. What's going on here? How do I get to my own YouTube? Whatever it is. View your channel. Skip. All right, all right. Are we actually live? Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? I can't. I see comments here. Merry Christmas, bro. Oh my, you're live. Now you just have to remember this lives. Don't pick your nose. Yeah. I have a tendency to pick my nose, so yeah, let's hope I don't do that. Let's see what else. Give it a minute or two. Make sure everyone is shocked seeing your live notification. 5x5. All right. That means you guys can hear me. Yeah. All right. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks very much for joining this this live stream. This is all very new to me, and I'm an IT guy. You know, I work with Linux every day. That's my job, and I'm an engineer. I'm a Linux engineer, but this stuff, this audio visual stuff. You know, I wasn't on the AV team in high school. They didn't let me near a camera or a microphone, so yeah, I don't know if those skills would have transferred anyway. Anyway, so if we're doing this correctly, then my cameras are online. I got 3 cameras. My microphone is hooked up and going through my my task cam. Yeah, I'm not a system admin. I'm a system engineer. I'd like you to remember that, please. Admins take tickets. Engineers solve problems. Yeah, I talk tough, but you know, um, I'm a typical salty old Marine. I don't really know what I'm doing. So yeah, Merry Christmas. Well, I'm doing the live stream because I got bullied into it in the best way, you know, by Raider HQ, and I got to say, you know, I appreciate the nudge. I do. I realize that this is going to be something that going forward we're going to have to do to make the channel better and to communicate with all of you. And so I'm happy to do that. It's a learning curve. I don't know how long I'm going to be staying online today. It's Christmas Day. My wife, Anne Marie, is upstairs. We're going to have lunch at some point. And, you know, we're just relaxing for the next couple of days at home here in Southeast Michigan. So let's see. What questions what do you want to talk about? Okay, here we are. Tell me what you want to talk about. What's on your mind on this fine Christmas day? Give a screwdriver to a sysadmin. Oh, yeah. Oh, somebody else is from Michigan, from Northville, I'm going to guess. Northville, Corby. Yeah, I'm in Oakland County, just north of Pontiac. So you kind of have an idea where I'm at now. All right. Okay, yeah, well, it's in your name, so it was an easy guess. Yeah, if you take M59 and you go west a ways from Pontiac, that's where I'm at. Not far from the airport. Watch out when he gets the cards out and starts to deal euchre. No, I appreciate that, but you know, I'm not a native Michigander. I was actually born in central Illinois in 1961 and lived mostly in central Illinois around the Peoria, Pekin area until I was 13. And my parents moved to Golden, Colorado. And that's where I spent most of my formative years up through high school. That's where I got my college degree from Red Rocks Community College. I joined the Marine Corps from there. I came back to there many times. And I've lived in many other states. I've lived in Wisconsin for 6 years, and Nebraska for 2 years, and New Mexico for a couple of years, and North Carolina for a couple of years, and now I'm in Michigan. I've been here since 2006, and honestly, this is this is definitely my home now, and I love Michigan, but I'm definitely not from here, so I do tend to miss out on some of the local talk. I don't get it all. Verner's is kind of lost on me. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know how to play euchre. I'm sorry. I actually don't play games at all. I don't play computer games. I don't watch television. I haven't been to the movies in probably 10 years. Mostly due to PTSD. I'm pretty much housebound except for work and my dojo. But, you know, I'm trying to get better. In fact, just recently here, I talked to my VA psychiatrist 2 days ago. We had a video conference. I've been taking prazosin for a long time for nightmares. And recently, I've been going to the vet center for therapy for PTSD. And it has been suggested to me many times that maybe I should start considering taking a antidepressant. And I've put it off. I really have. But yeah, I think maybe it's time. So I asked the VA psychiatrist if I could get a prescription for Cymbalta, and he agreed. So we're going to start on a real low dose to kind of get me started, and we're going to see how that helps or doesn't. I would love to be able to, you know, someday enjoy some of my hobbies and things like that again. So anyway. Salty Marine, hey, thank you for being here, man. That's cool. Why do I not have a screen anymore? Oh, there we are. Okay, good. Let's see. Scrolling down. There we go. Okay. Let's see. See if I can answer some questions. Can I ask how long you're out before you filed your first claim? I heard it was a long time, and you're still able to do it. Yeah, that's correct. I got my honorable discharge in 1985 from the Marine Corps. I was a E5 sergeant, and I didn't know anything about the VA. I didn't know anything about VA disability. I didn't know anything really, and I knew about VA home loans. I knew about a flag on your coffin, and that was basically it. I had a vague idea that there was this thing called VA healthcare, but I didn't really know how it worked, and I never really looked into it. So I had all the things that I currently have now. I had tinnitus and hearing loss and PTSD and IBS and GERD and sleep apnea and all those things that I'm currently rated for. But I just went through my life. I didn't know I didn't do too much about it. It's just those things you live with, right? I mean, you're in the military, you're taught to suck it up and move on. So, I did. And that's fine. I'm not a hero. I'm not anything special. I did what pretty much all of us do. But what happened was I got reached out to by the VA because I had been at Camp Lejeune during the time that the water was contaminated there. And what happened was they asked me to come down and register for VA healthcare at one of those PACT Act stand downs. So I did. And as it turned out, I was actually already registered for healthcare. I didn't even know. But while I was there, they said, do you want to file for some disabilities? Now, this was 2023. So 2 years ago. And I said, sure, why not? Yeah, I'll do that. I didn't know the first thing about disability, VA disability. So they said, here's a piece of paper, write down what's wrong with you. So I did. I wrote down all the things that are wrong with me. And, at my age, there's quite a few things wrong. So I listed them all. They typed them into the computer and they said, okay, great, thanks. The VA will be in touch. And I went away. And a year went by and nothing happened. Nobody was in touch. And then one day I got a email or text or something. I forgot what it was. Might have been a phone call. And they wanted me to come down to Southfield in Michigan to do a C&P exam for hearing and tinnitus. And I realized that was two of the things I had written down on my claim. So I put those in. And so I went to the C&P exam and I got a hearing test and I explained my tinnitus and how it got started from boot camp, and that was it. And I went home, and almost a year went by, and I finally got a decision letter in the mail, big thick packet. You know what they look like, and everything I had put down I was denied, but the tinnitus I got 10%, and my hearing I got 0%, service connected, but 0%, and that made me wonder. What's happening, what's going on. And of course, I knew nothing about the process. I knew nothing about what was required. So I started looking on YouTube, and, because when I need to fix my car, I look on YouTube and I'll find somebody who's done it and has shown how to do it. So, YouTube is kind of my brain that way. So I went there and looked for VA disability claims, and man, boom, my head exploded. I was watching Combat Craig and the CivDiv and Veterans InfoTap and those guys that have been around for quite a while. And they explained, how these claims work. And then I started using Google and things like that. And so I went back through my decision letter and figured out why I had been denied for all these things. And it was simple. I didn't do anything with them. I didn't show how it was caused by my in-service events. I didn't show a current diagnosis. I didn't show a nexus. I didn't explain anything. So of course they were all denied. They should have been denied. But of course that made me decide to go back in and take another run at it. And so I did. So from 2023 to the middle of 2025, I think it was August or September, when I finally reached 100% permanent and total. So that's my story there. Let's see. So yeah, I was out for a really, really long time, and actually I had a VSO. I knew I needed a VSO, I think, which turns out I didn't, but I thought I did. So I went down to the Detroit VRO, and I walked down the hallway, and I saw a DAV VSO, and what he told me was, you're too old to be filing claims. They're just going to be automatically denied. There's no point in it, so don't do that. And I decided not to listen to him. and I'm glad that I did. So yeah, that's how it all worked. Let's see what else. Hopefully, I answered your question. I learned from a staff sergeant in San Diego where I was raised. He worked at MCRD San Diego, taught me how to make money in the nickel dime quarter game. Not sure what that means, but okay. I learned 3-card Monte and how to avoid it while I was in San Diego. Glad you accepted Raiders Challenge. Yeah, why not? Let's see, what else? Sounds like a pretty common first experience with a VBA. Yeah, it's, that's a big part of the reason why I started this channel. All of the information that a veteran needs to file their claim and be successful is online. The VA does provide that information. The problem is that it's all hidden. It's like saying, well, the library is full of books. It's true. The library is full of books. But first you got to know that the library exists. Then you got to know where it is. Then you got to get a library card. Then you got to learn what books to read and where you'll find the information that you actually need to learn. But if you do all those things, yeah, the library is full of books, right? So the VA is the same way. The 38 CFR, the M21.1, all of those things are available. They're not hidden, right? You can read the Board of Veterans appeals, BVA decisions online, and it can open your mind. It can help you figure things out. But you have to know where to look, and you have to know what questions to ask. And so that's part of the reason I started this YouTube channel. I had been helped by veterans doing YouTube videos, and so I thought maybe I could assist in some way. I've always been a teacher. I worked for many, many years traveling around doing consulting gigs and teaching in front of classes of engineers, and so I'm pretty comfortable in front of a camera and a microphone. So I thought, hey, I like to talk. Why not talk online? So that's what I'm doing. Let's see. Got sidetracked here. Very deja vu. Oh yeah, okay. So you guys know what I'm talking about here. You've been through it. Got lucky. Had a great VSO. There are some great VSOs out there. I've heard the stories about the ones that really, really care and follow through on things. I've also heard a lot of stories about people who won't return phone calls, or who actively discourage claims, or who submit claims that are not what the veteran actually requested or said was wrong with them. And it's tough because, well, you saw my VSO series, right? I think the whole thing needs to be overhauled somewhat. I think VSOs need better training. I think they need a career path so that they become professionals. I think they need to be certified in ways other than just VA accreditation. But, that's my take on it. Let's see. We used to do nickel ante and buy time to pass quarters. Oh yeah, absolutely. They used to play. Was it Deuces? I forgot the name of the card game that was very popular when I was in the Corps, but I didn't play that either. So what do I know? Let's see. Apparently filed in 09 to simply get a favorable score. Oh, by the way, hi, Better with Barkley. Good to see you, man. Simply get a favorable score when bidding for Fed IT projects. 16 years later, I learned for real this time and actually got rated within 4 weeks. Blessed beyond belief. Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a process. It's a system. And when systems exist and there's rules for them, you can learn the systems. And there's always going to be quirks. There's always going to be things that should have worked and didn't. You followed all the rules and it still failed. There's going to be times when you sneak by on something where, that probably shouldn't have worked. Kind of sketchy, but you got it. So, hey, that's always going to happen, but the process still exists. And so I'm a process guy. I learn what the processes are, and I hope to, help pass that along to other veterans. I'm going to sidetrack here for spades. That's what it was. Spades. Thank you. Yeah, they played spades in the Marine Corps constantly. I don't know how to play it. Sorry, just wasn't my thing. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to get sidetracked here for a second, but let me just take a moment and talk about this, because I feel very strongly about this. I have read on Reddit and YouTube comments, and veterans talk to me, and I think there's a disconnect between what veterans want to say to the VA and what the VA wants to hear from the veterans. And I think this is where a lot of pain and heartache come in. And here's what I mean. The things that I experienced in the Marine Corps that led to PTSD were severe. And there's a lot of pain wrapped around that. And I have a history and I have a story to tell. And it took me a while to realize that that information is for my therapist. That information is for my wife, for my family. That is to help me heal. The VA disability doesn't care about that at all. All they care about is that very narrow gap of what's in the 38 CFR. For example, PTSD. How does it affect my ability to have a social life? How does it affect my ability to have a family life? How does it affect my ability to earn a living? And those things are written out very clearly in a few short paragraphs in the 38 CFR. And when a veteran submits their statement, their personal statement, when they submit their claim, when they go to their CNP exam, what they want to do, and I don't blame them, I want to do it too. They want to pour their hearts out. They want to get some validation. They want somebody to say, hey, you're right, that's messed up. No wonder you feel the way you feel. That's what they emotionally want. But VA disability isn't going to give that to them. And what's worse is if you don't satisfy the requirements in the 38 CFR, you're not going to get the disability either. And that's, that really bothers me, because I totally get both sides. I understand the VA's got rules that they have to follow. I also understand that these veterans are hurting and need assistance. And the two don't seem to work real well together. I hope through videos like this, through other YouTubers and people like that, I hope we can kind of try and tie some of those things together and explain why your pain is totally valid. You're right to feel the way you do, but you got to put it aside when you talk to VA disability, when you're filing a claim, because it doesn't have anything to do with your disability, according to the VA, right? So if you want to win, basically their game, you got to play by their rules. You can't be playing poker when the game is euchre, right? I don't know if that's a good explanation. Anyway, okay. Aside from that, let's see what else we got here. Tunk was a card game during our time. Yeah, I never heard of that one. Let's see what else. Merry Christmas, everybody. Can I get approved for CFS by a CNP examiner, ACE exam with no diagnosis by VA provider, but it's presumptive and I have symptoms? If it's presumptive, you don't need a diagnosis. That's what it comes down to. No, I take that back. I'm wrong. Strike that. If it's presumptive, you still need a diagnosis, but you don't need a nexus. That's what it is. Now, the problem with going to the CNP exam to get your diagnosis is your CNP examiner can make a diagnosis. They can, but they don't have to, and they may not. And so you're rolling the dice on that one, right? So when you go in with all of your information except a diagnosis, you are relying on the CNP examiner, or in this case, an ACE review, which is essentially the same thing. It's just on paper, right? You're relying on that examiner to make the diagnosis for you. Now, they will fill out a medical opinion. That's part of what they do. It's the same thing as a Nexus letter, only it's on the VA side instead of on your side. So they're going to fill one out, whether or not they say less likely than not, or at least as likely as not. You're not in control of that. And so I don't advise going in without a diagnosis if you can possibly avoid it. I'm not saying that you won't get a diagnosis and you won't get your claim approved. It can happen. It does happen all the time. But it's always better if you've got the diagnosis first. So I hope that helps. Okay, let me scroll up here. I'm losing some things. How do I do this? 3 VSO in my office. 1, I had to twist his arm to give me an intent to file. 1 specialized survivor benefits. That is cool in its own way, but the 3rd has helped 2 of my buddies get to 100. That's great. That's fantastic. You'll need to get to CMP exam for sure, and then go from there. See how the Terra letter goes and move on from that. Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that I think is a valid strategy for those who don't want to go out and purchase a Nexus letter or try and persuade their doctor to write a valid Nexus letter for them is they basically just go ahead and roll the dice. They say, let's see what happens with the ACE review or the CNP exam. And if it turns out favorable, I'm good. I'm done. You know, I got my approval. If it doesn't, then I will file the supplemental, and then I will, if I have to, shell out some money for a Nexus letter, or, you know, go beat up on my doctor until they write a valid Nexus letter for me. So, you know, that is a valid approach. In some ways, it's probably the most clever approach, but it does require some discipline, and it does require you to be patient in case it doesn't turn out the way you think it might. But, you know, it's valid. Some people do it that way. I didn't. Okay, when I filed my secondary claims for PTSD, which was migraines, GERD, IBS, and apnea, sleep apnea, when I filed all of those secondary to PTSD, I went out and paid for Nexus letters. They were good Nexus letters. They came from noted psychologists and psychiatrists. I'm happy to share that information, by the way. They cost money, but for me, that was an investment. And given my age, I don't know how much time I've got. I'm just being, you know, straight up here. So I didn't want to wait around. I didn't want to go through the whole cycle and then wait to get denied and then go get the Nexus letter. Let's just get it over with. That was my approach. Oh, hey, thank you, George. I appreciate that. You know, nobody has to give money. You don't have to do it. I sincerely appreciate it. It's very kind, but I'm more than happy to be here and to try and help veterans as best I can. Are ACE reviews good or bad over? Oh, wait a minute. Let me jump up one. Thank you. Nervous since my ACE exam is out of state. May or may not receive a call. Southwest Asia Theater of Operations vet. Yeah. And then the next question is, are ACE reviews good or bad? So let's talk about ACE reviews for a minute. The VA is attempting, and this is my understanding, the VA is attempting to get away from CNP exams to the extent that they can. They're third party for the most part. They've all been outsourced, and they cost a lot of money. And so the VA is trying to save money. And so what they've done is they've said, look, if the veteran provides sufficient evidence in their claim to proceed directly to a decision, we're going to skip the CNP exam. Now, what that typically means is that it goes to an ACE review. An ACE review is a CNP exam. It's the same thing, except you're not there, either physically or via video hookup, right? So it is a CNP exam. It's just that it can be done less expensively and faster by having it basically paper checked. So the same kind of doctor is going to look at this claim, and they're just going to make their DBQ and their medical opinion and send it back to the VA just like a CNP exam would. They'll call you on the phone if they have any questions. So far, every ACE review I've had, I have also gotten a phone call. And I will say this, it will come at the most inconvenient time possible. Every single time. They'll catch you flat-footed. You'll be flabbergasted, not clear what to say, but, you know, you'll get through it. Honestly, between all of us, between you and me, however many of you there are right now, I think ACE reviews are a positive sign, because I don't think you would go to an ACE review, your claim would go to an ACE review, unless the VA already thought you had submitted sufficient evidence to proceed directly to a claim. So in general, I would always say ACE review, good. Now, that doesn't mean CNP exams are bad. Sometimes CNP exams are actually required regardless of what information is in your claim, like, for example, with PTSD. But in general, ACE reviews, I think, are a positive sign. Let's see here. Hello, great people. Merry Christmas, Bill. Hey, Merry Christmas to you too, Casey. Thank you very much. A lot of these Nexus letters by companies that are over 100 miles an hour will probably hurt veterans in the future, I think. Yeah, so that's a good question. A lot of people have said that. And so what the comment is, as I understand it, is that the VA doesn't like Nexus letters to come from professionals, medical professionals who are a long way away from where the veteran physically lives. And I get the idea, right? I do. I will say that in both both of the Nexus letter writers that I used, one psychologist, one psychiatrist, they were far more than 100 miles away from me, and it didn't seem to make any difference whatsoever to the VA. The medical professionals in question were licensed, and in the case of the psychologist, at least, he makes a great deal of the fact that he is licensed to practice in states other than his own. So he had the credentials, and so did the psychiatrist, right? So board certified psychiatrist is Dr. Sharma, by the way, Dr. Prasant Sharma. He's fantastic. You should watch his channel if you ever get a chance. He has some great things to say from the point of view of a Nexus letter writer. He's a Air Force veteran. He is a board certified physician as well as a psychiatrist. And he's really just a great guy. When I did the Nexus letters with him, he set up a video appointment. It took a while, by the way. He's got a waiting list. But he set up a video appointment. He had gone through every one of my medical records, including my military service treatment records. And he had very pointed questions to ask. You know, it was not a paper check. You know what I'm saying? He was interested in what was going on, and he wrote two amazing DBQs and Nexus letters for me. And so yeah, he was over 100 miles away, and I heard nothing but, you know, approvals from the VA. My last claim, which he did 3 of the Nexus letters for, well, it was 1 Nexus letter, but it was 3 conditions. My last claim took 20 days from the time that I submitted it to the time that it was approved, which put me over the top for 100%. So I don't know. You know, I can't say what's going to happen in the future, but it hasn't been a problem for me, at least so far. I hope that answers your question. Let's see what else we got here. Don't forget the first sergeant gave you duty for Christmas and New Year's Eve. How did you know? No, I'll tell you what. I served with MP Company, a military police company, Headquarters Battalion, 1st Marine Division at Camp Pendleton for the majority of my time in service. And I was a junior Marine, so I was PFC, Lance Corporal. I got sergeant later on, so all the way up to corporal I was there. And my family was home in Colorado, and I did not have a steady girlfriend at that time. Not to say I didn't have girlfriends. That's another story for later on. But yeah, I would frequently volunteer to take duty NCO or supernumerary when we had those positions that needed to be filled for Christmas, New Year's, Easter, you know, whatever, because I wanted the married Marines to be able to spend time with their families. And a lot of us did that. I wasn't anything special. But yeah, I got volunteered for Christmas, New Year's. And it was fine. I mean, I was young. What did I care? All right, let's see. I have sent in NJU CFA's fatigue questionnaire as well as proof online. Will they take as evidence or disregard it? Okay. I don't know what NJU CFS fatigue questionnaire is, but it sounds to me like you're attempting to show a diagnosis by filling out a questionnaire. If that's what you're actually saying, will they accept it? They accept everything, right? They'll take it. They'll look at it. Will they accept it as probative? You're not a doctor, neither am I. So I'm going to guess less likely than not that they will accept that. If you can, get a diagnosis. And maybe I'm misreading your statement here. If I am, please straighten me out. All right, let's move on here. I have a 5-month-old FOIA request for STRs, etc. Yeah, during my CNP, the examiner was able to find a police report from 1985 that proved what I couldn't. Really? That's interesting. I did not know anything was there. That's fascinating. I guess I had something similar. When I went in for my my hearing and my tinnitus, which was my first ever CNP, of course I didn't know anything about the VA or VA disability, so I had not pulled a copy of my service treatment records. And she asked me questions like, did you have an audiology exam while you were in the Marine Corps? I honestly didn't remember. I mean, talking 1979 to 1985 here. No, I'm sorry, my friend. I cannot answer that question. And she immediately said, "Oh yeah, well I see your audiology, your audiogram from your original enlistment." Oh, well, okay then. Later on, when I did get a copy of my service treatment record, it wasn't in there. So she had access to something I did not. I don't know what it is. Maybe similar to what you were talking about. Let's see. I think the key is make sure they're board certified and practicing doctor in their field of expertise. Yeah, I think so. At least that's been my experience, right? So my expertise, if there is any, is limited to what I personally have experienced. I have not yet heard anybody tell me that their Nexus letter was rejected because their doctor, the Nexus letter writer, lived too far away. I haven't heard that. However, anything could happen, right? So if anybody does know that, let me know. Been telling my, hello and Merry Christmas. Hello, yes, Merry Christmas. Been telling my VA primary and psychologist for a few months. They have notes about it, but won't put down the diagnosis. Have you asked them? Have you said, look, I'm pursuing a VA disability claim. I need a diagnosis. Would you please give me a diagnosis? There's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, none of them take it the wrong way, in my opinion. So, be upfront, ask them. I've been waiting a year for my claim to move out of step 3. I just called the White House line, not the real White House folks. Submitted a report and they said they were going to send it to my RO. Yeah, I mean, waiting a year for it to move out of step 3, that does seem not good. So at that point, pretty much anything you can do to maybe move it along, sure, why not? Get in there and start rattling some cages. All my exams are done. My in-person ones were in June and July and August. They did ACE ones, and I tried to get expedited for a financial hardship. Yeah, I've never had to request that expedition, but I understand what it is, and I wish you the best on that one. I hope it works for you. Let's see. Have my fingers crossed. Yeah, me too. I have my fingers crossed for you, buddy. This is why I'm here, right? I want all of the veterans who have disability claims pending to be able to get those things adjudicated. And, when they have merit, I want them to get those claims approved. Absolutely, 100%. That's why I do the channel. I'm on your side, and I'm here for you. All right, what else we got? George, if you contact them with the mail link to help with agency, they will do the presidential inquiry. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you guys often help each other out and fill in gaps where I don't know what the answer is. I have seen an awful lot of YouTube channels where in the comments for the videos, people just bicker and attack each other and call each other names. And it's disheartening because we're all veterans. We're all on the same team. And so, yeah, I'm very heartened to see us taking care of each other. That's a good community. Thanks very much. Did you ever find out what happened to your back window? Okay, so for those who don't know, my wife and I were going to dinner on a Sunday afternoon. We were driving my wife's Chevy Equinox. It's my Equinox now. She has a new car. And we're driving down the road, and suddenly there's a loud bang, and the back window just blew out. I mean, it blew out. And to me, it sounded like a shot. It just did. And my wife said, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And I said, "Floor it, get out of here." Because that's my first reaction to hearing gunshots. So she hammered the gas straight ahead, right down the road. First residential pull-off we saw, I said, pull over here. She pulled over. I jumped out. She said, "What are you getting out for?" I said, "I'm setting up a defensive perimeter." What? I don't have a firearm. I don't have a fire team. There's no defensive perimeter. Against what? Old habits die very hard, and when you're hypervigilant from PTSD anyway, it gets the blood pumping. But I ran to the back of the car. I checked it. The back window was completely shattered, so I couldn't really tell what had happened. There were parts of the window still there, but I looked inside. I didn't see bullets or anything. Checked the headrests in the back of the front seat. Didn't see any holes or anything. So we called 911. The police came out. They took a look around, and finally the cop found a segment of the glass from the back window that had what looked like an impact mark. We surmise that probably it was a kid with a pellet gun. The cop said they have at least one or two of those every summer. People kids hiding in the bushes with a BB gun and wait for a car to go by and take a shot. Lots of people online offered me lots of explanations, and all of them were perfectly valid, except they didn't really fit our circumstances. They said maybe it was a passing vehicle that threw up a rock. Absolutely possible, but there were no passing vehicles. We were actually alone on the road at that very moment. So anyway, yeah, I think somebody took a pot shot at us with a pellet gun. I don't think it was personal. I think we were just a random target, right? And I'll bet they were surprised that it actually did what it did. I'll bet they were shocked themselves. Probably, as they say, shitting and getting. Sorry. Pardon the language. The cop went back and looked around. He didn't see anything. He didn't see any signs of anybody having, dropped a pellet gun and run off or anything like that. So who knows? The insurance paid for most of it. We had to cough up a little bit out of pocket. We got the window replaced, and, life goes on. But no, we never found out who did it. Let's see. I feel your pain. Took me 13 years on my first claim. Wow. Yeah. The longest mine ever took was like 290 days, almost a year. That was my PTSD claim. Probably could have gone faster if I'd known more about what I was doing at that time. I did okay. I got my claim approved. And after an HLR, I got it raised to 70%. But wow, that's a long time. Sorry, man. I think part of the problem is my claim for a certain reason in San Juan. I don't know. A lot of my claims went through San Juan. I keep track of it through the VA portal and using that VA claims tracker tool and using the API for those who aren't aware of it. And so I'm an IT geek, so I was checking that out constantly. And a lot of my claims went through San Juan. It didn't seem to slow them down, at least in my experience. Crossing my fingers on my secondary for a couple of 1997. First trying anything with the VA in years. See how it goes. Yeah, good luck, man. I've had plenty of people tell me that, when you've been out for 40 years, like I have, 40 plus years, your claim's not going to get approved, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's true. I don't. I don't want people to be discouraged just because they've been out for a long time. If the evidence is there, the evidence is there. If the claim is real, the claim is real. Now, what you might have to do, that a lot of veterans who haven't been out for as long don't have to do, is you might have to show why you waited so long. You might have to show if there was continuity of treatment, meaning, if you really have PTSD and it started in 1979, mine did, what have you been doing all this time, right? Well, you're going to have to explain, okay, no, I did not get treatment. I had PTSD. I knew I had nightmares and things like that. I kind of thought they were normal. You got to explain all of that stuff. But you can. In other words, it's just because it's difficult to explain, just because it's not neat and tidy. Well, lives aren't neat and tidy. So make it logical, make it clear, make it understandable. And I don't really see a problem with that, like some people seem to think there is. Let's see. Glad you guys were okay. God was looking out for you guys. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think it was just a pellet, so probably wouldn't have hurt us no matter what, but it didn't penetrate the glass. It just broke it. And it's safety glass, so it's kind of designed for that anyway. It takes the impact and spreads it out. So it was okay. It was just money, and that's all right. Let's see. And thank you, by the way, for saying that. Merry Christmas. Thank you for serving in the USMC and continuing to serve by providing valuable guidance through VA claims process. Thank you, Raider HQ, Clay, and Jason. Yeah, all those guys are fantastic. I am not in their class, and I don't pretend to be. I admire them all greatly. Clay doesn't like me very much. Early on, I called him out once on something. I thought he had a grudge against older veterans, and he took me to task for that. I don't think he likes me, but I like him, and I'm sorry, Clay, if you're watching. Anyway, let's see, what can I say here? Yeah, it's funny. I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, mainly because I had goofed off my whole senior year in high school, and I had no chance of getting into any colleges, and I definitely didn't have money to go to college. My parents were middle class, but nothing more, and they certainly weren't going to put me through college because I hadn't bothered to get scholarships and so forth. So I was looking around for, what am I going to do? And, within 3 weeks, I had enlisted in the Marine Corps. I'll tell you a funny story. My dad was a Marine before me, and my first thought was not to join the Marine Corps. I actually thought, hey, it would be cool to join the Navy and go nukes, because they had like a 6-year enlistment with guaranteed promotions. That sounded pretty good to me as somebody who knew nothing about the military. So I went down and talked to the Navy, and I took the ASVAB test, and I scored really high. And they were excited. They were like, oh, yeah, definitely. We're going to put you in nukes. Everything's going to be great. Just need to get you to the physical, and as soon as you graduate from high school, we'll get you slotted in to go to boot camp. It's going to be fantastic. And so I was like all ready to go Navy. And I took my physical, and I'm colorblind. Well, I knew I was colorblind. I've been colorblind all my life, but nobody ever asked, so I didn't say. They didn't say, "Are you colorblind?" I didn't tell them. And so I get to my physical, and they give me the color vision test, and I failed it. I came back to the recruiter, and the recruiter's like, "Yeah, I can't do anything with that. Sorry, to be in nukes, you've got to be an electrician, and electricians have to read color-coded wires, so that's it for you." And I said, "Well, what can I do in the Navy?" And they said, "You can be a rust picker. You can be a swab jockey." And I thought, not probably what I want to do. And as I was walking out, the Marine Corps recruiter said, "We don't care if you're colorblind or not." And I said, "All right, let's do it, man. Let's do it." So 3 weeks later, I was in Marine Corps boot camp, July 27th, 1979. Right. So I graduated in June. So a month and a half after high school, I was in Marine Corps boot camp. Why do I still, why am I still doing this kind of stuff? Right. I don't know. It's in my blood. I don't like people taking advantage of other people. I don't like bullies, or what I see as being bully behavior. So I'm kind of against that. For the last 18 years, after work on Mondays and Thursdays, I go over to our local dojo. It's an Ishinryu karate dojo. I'm a fourth Dan black belt, and I volunteer my time. I'm a student at the dojo. I pay every month, but I volunteer my time after work before the adult class to teach kids. And I'm not the sole sensei. I'm one of several. I assist, and so that is really important to me. Helping children to be more confident, to not have to deal with bullying. And I watch how the learning karate helps children, not just with martial arts, sweet martial arts moves, but with the ability to just carry themselves differently, to not be bullied. And it's self-confidence. And once they have that, they're never marked as targets. And that gratifies me, So I do that. And this is almost an extension of that, in a sense. I don't like what I had to go through to learn how to file an effective VA disability claim. And it makes me sad and a little upset when I see what other veterans have to go through. I don't like it. It's not fair. So I am more than happy to devote some spare time to doing this. And I hope it's helpful. I really do. All I can do is the best I can and hope for the best. Okay, let's see. Got a little sidetracked talking about how great I am. I'm not great. Don't get too discouraged. Yeah, good. Merry Christmas, Semper Fi. Yeah, Semper Fi. Absolutely. Jesus Christ is Lord. Amen. He saw you coming. Who saw me? Who saw me coming? Real Marine or PI? I went to San Diego. Platoon 2068. Graduated October 22nd, 1979. 2nd Battalion, second to none. Let's see. Do you think filing secondary online or mail in? It doesn't make any difference. Filed everything else online, but do you think mail is better? No, I don't. I think it's the same. You can file with a VSO. You can file online. You can call in a claim, as I'm told. You can fax it. It doesn't matter. They all go to the same place. My whole family was Army. Yep. Cool. Yeah, not a lot of people in my family. Well, I take that back. Before me, we didn't have a lot of people in the military. My dad was a Marine, but his father was not. As far back as I know, none of them served. But I had an uncle in World War II. And then my nephews, my sister's sons, all served in the Army in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm going to tell you, they didn't come back the same. Just going to say that. All right, let's see. We did all 9. Sorry, it's a little difficult to read some of these things. The scroller's not scrolling. Marine recruiter. Yeah. Hollywood Marine, 1066, October 1990. Well, you're a boot. I'm joking. I'm kidding. We're all Marines. Thanks. And what lack of room for expansion? Don't understand the question. Can you help me out with that one? Carpoker 55. All right. Yeah, I'm catching up here on the questions. What else do we have here? This is not the easiest thing to navigate. I'm using a what is it, a Chromebook, and yeah, it's not as simple. And I also don't have a mouse. I'm using my touchpad on my Chromebook, and that's dumb. I should get a mouse. All right. How long have we been doing this? I don't even know. There's no timer. At some point, I got to grab some lunch, guys, and we'll do it some more, right? So now that I know how to do this and that it works, awesome. How did you finally get your PTSD claim approved after all those years? Yeah, good question. So here's how it worked for me. Again, I told you that I suffered from PTSD from 1979, right? I'm just going to, without going into a lot of detail, I'm going to say that as a military policeman, even during peacetime, you're a first responder. You deal with a lot of traumatic incidents. I saw helicopters crash right in front of me. I was the first one there in 29 Palms. And I saw planes crash. I was in a plane that almost crashed. It blew out the back hatch, and we lost pressurization. We went through explosive decompression, and the plane went into a dive, and all kinds of stuff, right? Civilian car accidents, everything. Anyway, I honestly thought, I'm just giving you a little background here. I hope you can bear with me. I honestly thought that I had dodged PTSD. I knew it existed. I didn't think I had it. Those things happened to me, and they were not fun, but I kind of went on with my life, or so I thought. So I just wasn't overly concerned about PTSD or anything like that. What happened was I got to be about 50 years old. I'm 64 right now. I'll be 65 in July. So I got to be about 50 years old, and I started having nightmares, and they got worse and worse and worse. And a lot of them dealt with military experiences that I had had, traumatic experiences. And I would wake up sweating and thrashing around in the bed and shouting. And my wife was scared and frightened. She didn't know what to do. She was very concerned for me, but I didn't see a solution, so I didn't do anything. And it was only after I went to the PACT Act stand down, and then later on when I got the tinnitus and the hearing loss service connected, I started thinking about PTSD. And right about that time, as if the VA was reading my mind, I saw an ad on Facebook that said, are you a PTSD survivor? The VA has therapy treatment programs, and you might be interested. Now, I actually took a little detour because I have a job, I have a day job, I have insurance. So I called my insurance company and said, I have PTSD from my time in the military. Am I covered? Can you help me with therapy? I didn't even involve the VA. And they said, oh, yeah, we can definitely help you. You're covered. Here's a list of psychiatrists and therapists. Call them up. I'm like, there's 20 of them. I'm going to call them all up. Yeah, they're okay. So I started calling. Do you have experience with PTSD? Do you have experience with the military, with veterans? No. Nobody had anything for me, right? At all. So I went ahead and called the VA. Very simple. And I talked to a coordinator there, and they had me come down to the VA hospital in Ann Arbor, and I got diagnosed. They had me go through some questionnaires, and we had 2 in-person meetings for about 2 hours each, and talked about a lot of things. And I got a diagnosis of PTSD and depression. And they asked me if I wanted medication. No, I didn't want medication. I just wanted to see if I could make the nightmares go away, if I could feel better. And so they started me on prolonged exposure therapy, PE as they call it. PE is not fun. It is not. You have to verbalize what happened to you over and over and over again until it doesn't hurt anymore. It's like a broken tooth. You just keep running your tongue over the broken tooth until eventually you get used to it. Anyway, flashing ahead. I got that treatment. They sent me into another group after that. I did group therapy online from a group in Indianapolis. And then I got plugged into the local vet center where I still go for therapy. My VA psychiatrist, who I meet with every 2-3 months, has me on Prazosin for PTSD nightmares. Now, all of that has nothing to do with VA disability claims, but the important part here is that I have a current diagnosis. I am getting treatment. There are records explaining my PTSD and how it came to be in my treatment records with the VA. And with those, I filed my claim. I included my personal statement about when these things happened and how they happened. I included a buddy letter from my wife who talked about, me waking up in the middle of the night with the screaming and the sweats and all that. And I talked about things like jobs that I had lost due to anger management problems and bankruptcy that I'd gone through and the house that I had foreclosed on and all that sort of thing. None of it was fun. But in addition to that, the VA was able to find what they call marker evidence, meaning they went back through my service treatment record, they went back through my service record book, and they found things that they consider significant signs that a person has experienced PTSD. It's called markers. And so they found those. And at that point, I was sent to a CNP exam. I talked to a psychiatrist who was contracted with the VA to do CNP exams, and we talked about it. And again, I had to deal with that continuity, right? Happened in 1979. I'm filing in 2023. What happened? And I explained to them just like I'm explaining to you. And I guess that was sufficient because it was service connected. Initially, it was 50%. And I believe that they had missed some things that were in the record. Basically passive suicidal intent, not active. I don't want to kill myself. I don't have a plan. There are just times when I don't really care very much, and that counts towards 70%. And so I filed a HLR with an informal conference. I explained to the person that I spoke to the DRO, how the evidence already in my claim showed that I should have been rated at 70%, and 2 days later I was. So that's how I got it connected. I hope that helps. Let's see, been on for about an hour now. Okay, well, we'll wrap up before too long. This has been fun, though, I'll tell you that, especially for the first time around. What can you do if the VA continuously, after 2 positive CNP exams, take 2 negative IMOs to deny my claim? I don't know. Continuously 2 positive CNP exams. Have you seen the CNP exams? If you haven't, I suggest that you file a Freedom of Information Act or Privacy Act request online for just the CNP exams, nothing else, just the CNP exams. If you file for those only, you should get a response back within about 2 weeks to 10 days. If you ask for anything else other than the C&P exam results, it takes 9 months to a year. Honestly, it's that big of a difference. So just file, if you haven't, for the C&P exam results and read what the examiner said. You may think you got a positive C&P exam result, and you may find after you read what they wrote that you do not. Usually, if the C&P examiner says at least as likely as not your claim is going to get approved, raters generally don't go against that. So I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that what you think your C&P examiner did isn't what they said they did, and that happens a lot, by the way. Good luck with that. Let's see. Same thing with me. I put my mental health behind me due to your real life. Worried about getting employed at 62. I could just handle things well anymore. Hide it from folks and wife for years. Yeah, absolutely, man. Look, I didn't even realize that it was PTSD that was causing me to like lose my job, to quit my job and move to another state every 3 or 4 years, to put 30 freaking security cameras up around my house, hypervigilance they call it. You know, it wasn't until I started getting therapy that I realized how much of my life I had messed up on my own due to PTSD. It's kind of sad that people like you and I had to wait for so long to, you know, reach out, get the treatment, and then start realizing, well, in some cases, what a mess we had made. Speaking for myself, what a mess I had made of my life up until that point. There's no cure for it now. All I can do is try to be better, and I am trying. Let's see. Stay with it. Don't take no for an answer. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're talking to each other. Good. Go get mental health therapy immediately if it needs to be documented. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I went the therapy route first, and I wasn't even thinking about disability, to be honest, at that point. The therapist I talked to said, "Have you filed a disability claim?" I said, "No. Why would I do that? I'm here to get fixed. I'm here for help." But there's nothing wrong. And I've learned this since. There's absolutely nothing wrong with telling your therapist, yes, I am interested in pursuing VA disability. They may actually help you with that. They may actually help you with putting things in your records that could be probative and useful in a claim. And I'll tell you this, and this is something that I did not know until I started with the Vet Center. The Vet Center is VA, but it's not VA. Their records don't go straight into your blue button record report. They stay with the Vet Center unless you get a copy of them from the Vet Center and upload them to your VA record portal. Unless you do that or go and get those and put those into a claim, nobody's ever going to see those at the VA, which can be good or bad. But here's the interesting part. When I talked to my therapist at the Vet Center, I had already been, at that point, I had already gotten my claim done for PTSD, so I didn't need any assistance, but I was just trying to get help. But she said, hey, listen, if you're looking for assistance with a VA disability claim, we're allowed to help you with that. Oh, really? I had no idea. I mean, you wouldn't expect that, right? But there it was. So I didn't need it at that point. I was already adjudicated. I already had my rating. But if somebody is looking for therapy and looking to file a VA disability, I suggest, if you can, it does. The VA, the vet centers don't see every veteran, but if you fit into the category and check to see if you do, might be a great place to go. And most of those vet centers are local. Mine is like 2 miles from where I work. So I just take an hour off every 3 weeks and go over and do my therapy and come back to work, call it my lunch. So I recommend that, just FYI. Let's see. Sorry, what about the lack of room online from explain the issue with online form rather than mail-in form? Not a real good typer. Yeah, I understand. I'll do my best to understand what people are saying. What about the lack of room online to explain the issue? Yeah, okay. I got it now. I got it. Okay, so what you can do is online, when you fill out your claim, right, you can download from the VA your personal statement in a PDF form. Now, You fill out the PDF form. It doesn't give you all the room in the world. It's like one page and then a little bit on a second page. But it says right there, you can include as many pages as you like. So just fill them out using Word, if you like, or something like that, a word processing document online. Type out what you want to type out, right? Save it all and upload it with your claim, right? You don't have to do it right there on the spot online. So that eliminates the problem with not having enough room to do it. The only real difference is, instead of downloading it, printing it out, and then mailing it in, you're downloading it and then uploading it after you've edited and added all your everything you want to say in your personal statement and things like that. Now, I will say this. If you listen to Raider HQ, they don't want 5 pages. And I suspect, he knows. I don't. I'm not a Raider, of course. But I suspect that maybe there might be a way to trim that down. I know you've got a lot that you want to say, but maybe that's not all necessary for your claim. Let me make a suggestion here. If you have not introduced yourself to AI, you might consider taking a run at ChatGPT. What I did when I filed my last claims, I was just starting to figure out ChatGPT by the time I was coming to the end of my VA disability journey. But my last few claims, when I filled out my personal statement, I actually, stripped out the personal stuff and uploaded it to ChatGPT. And I said, can you help me organize this as a personal statement for my VA disability claim? And it came back with this list of bulleted items were exactly what I had said, right? I uploaded the information, so it was all truthful. And it simply condensed it, summarized it, and put it in a format that made sense to the VA according to their process and their procedure. And it was considerably shorter than what I had written. And it even said things like, you don't need this paragraph here. This is not probative. This doesn't help the VA. This is you explaining yourself, which is sometimes necessary and sometimes not. So yeah, my suggestion is that if you want to upload 5 pages or 10 pages or whatever, you can do that. That's fine. It doesn't have to all be on that form. However, my suggestion is you might not need as much as you think you do. And I'll defer to Raider HQ on that one, but he has said that, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Salty Old Sailor, nice to see you doing a live stream. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know how until like an hour ago, a little over an hour ago, and I wasn't sure I was doing it right. My computer that controls this software, this is called an ATEM Mini Pro ISO, is running on a Windows machine upstairs in my house. I'm in the basement. So I had to go upstairs, pop open YouTube, say I wanted to start a live stream, put in some secret code or something into the ATEM software, and then run back downstairs. So some of you saw an empty chair here for a while I was trying to get back down the stairs. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm still figuring it out. I may end up having to have a Windows machine here in my little studio, which used to be a guest bedroom, and now we can't have guests anymore, I guess. Not that we ever did. Happy for you. Watched Raider HQ last night and was hoping you would do this. Yeah, that guy's a bully, isn't he? I mean, look what he did to me. He's push, that guy. I have a service-connected hip disability, 10% for 30 years. Never tried to add or increase. Now I have diagnosis for OSA, low back with radiculopathy, GERD, and mental health that my VA therapist links to my chronic pain. Okay, I'm not the expert here, but I do know a couple of things. Regardless of what you're trying to service connect to anything else, all theories are equally valid for submission. So if you want to file a secondary claim and say X is connected to Y, it doesn't matter that it happened 30 years ago. It doesn't matter that it's 10%. It could even be 0% as long as it's service connected. What matters is the nexus, okay? And that's going to be on you. So when you're making things like that, when you're trying to connect, for example, sleep apnea, and that's a tough one. I am rated for sleep apnea, and I did get it secondary, but it's not an easy one to get. When you're trying to service connect those, I think, this is my opinion, you're really going to have to get a good, powerful nexus that makes that connection. And what do I mean by a nexus? I don't just mean your doctor saying, in my opinion, this is what caused that. That is not probative, as they say, to the VA. What they need to see is they need to see a specialist in that area, right? It should be. Technically, it can be written by any medical provider, even an LPN, but you really want a specialist, somebody who knows that particular disease or condition. They've got to say in their statement, who they are, what are their credentials, why are they qualified to make the opinions that they're making. They've got to say that they have reviewed your records, your medical records, as well as your military treatment records. They've got to say that they've interviewed you, they've talked to you. They've got to say, they've got to cite all the medical or scientific journals, studies, anything else that would show that what you're claiming can be connected to what you're already service connected for. And this applies to anything, right? Anything secondary to anything. And then they have to tie a bow on it and say, in my medical opinion, it is at least as likely as not that this veteran, not veterans in general, but this veteran, right? At least as likely as not that this veteran, sleep apnea, for example, is caused by or worsened, significantly aggravated by whatever the condition is you're claiming that you're already service connected for. If you do those things, right, you at least have a shot at getting service connected. I'm not saying that you will, because not all secondaries get approved. Excuse me, but you've got a shot. If your Nexus letter is probative, you may actually skip the C&P exam, go straight to an ACE review, and you'll find it goes very quickly. And if you get denied, at least you'll have something that you can hang your hat on for an HLR or for a supplemental. Don't ever forget, guys, if you get denied for a claim, the door is not shut. In fact, the door is never shut. You're never cooked. You can do those claims over and over again with a supplemental, even years later, right? So if you were denied 10 years ago and you decide that you want to go back and revisit that, you can file a supplemental. What you need is new and relevant evidence, but you can still go back and reopen those claims. You can still go back and get adjudicated again and again and again if you keep coming up with new and relevant evidence. So, don't feel like it's the end if your claim is denied. It's not. And I think it's just the beginning. Depends on how hard you want it, I guess. Anyway. Let's move on here. Thanks for the info on filing, just for the C&P to expedite. Been waiting way too long. Yeah. So this is a trick that I learned from Reddit, actually, and I didn't believe it myself because I had already done a FOIA request for my records, and it took 9 freaking months, and I was very disappointed because I needed that information right away. And somebody said, hey, if you just request only the C&P exam, nothing else. There's a whole list of check boxes, right? It's very easy to just go, yeah, send it all to me. I want it all. There's a time for that, right? And in fact, I have one of those requests in now, and it's been there since September, and it'll be there until probably next September, and that's fine. But if you just want your C&P exam results, just request that, nothing else. And I've done that 3 times now. And all 3 times it came back within 10 days. They send you an email with a link to a portal that you can download those C&P records. You get to see the DBQ. You get to see the medical opinion that the examiner wrote. Whether it's an ACE review or a C&P exam, it's the same thing. Just say C&P exam, they'll get the ACE exam. It's the same. You'll get those results. And regardless of what the examiner told you to your face, right? Oh yeah, this looks great. I don't see any problem here. Maybe. Read what they wrote. That's what matters. The DBQ and the medical opinion. A medical opinion from an examiner, whether it's an ACE review or a C&P exam, is exactly the same as a Nexus letter that you would have sent in. The difference is you didn't pay for it and they're not working for you. So let's hope they see it your way, right? And they might, but they might not. That's why you definitely want to get those records, at least to see them. If you need to file an HLR and say that the C&P examiner or the ACE reviewer got it wrong, it's greatly helpful to be able to see what they actually said. So, word to the wise on that. Let's see. Trying to figure out how to organize hundreds of pages of records for evidence. Okay, so, I hate to keep saying this, but I really like ChatGPT. It has been a godsend for me. Even if you don't upload the documents themselves to ChatGPT, describe them, ask, and say, hey, what do I actually need here? You know, here's what these things say in general terms. Here's what I'm claiming. What does the VA need to see? Man, I found it really helpful. Give it a shot. You can ignore it if you don't like the results, but, you know, worth a try. Let's see. Being paged by the wife. Yeah, I think I got to go here shortly also. Should I just try to submit claims for 1 or 2 conditions at a time, or try to go for all at once? You know, that's a great question, right? That's a fantastic question. I don't have a solid answer for that. I think it depends. I'm going to say this. I filed for, I filed for a bunch of stuff that got denied, but let's just break it down to what actually got approved. I got approved for tinnitus and hearing loss. Then I got approved for PTSD. Then I got approved for migraines, IBS, and GERD, all on the same shot. I think that's everything. So the last claim, the one that went the fastest, 20 days, was the most things that I had claimed at one time. In my case, I didn't claim them all at once because I didn't have my evidence. I didn't have my Nexus letters. I didn't have my diagnosis in some cases. I didn't have DBQs from the specialists that I saw. I saw a neurologist. I saw a gastroenterologist. Et cetera. So and I had to have medical procedures done. I had to have MRI and MRA on my head. I had to have a colonoscopy, a variety of different things. I had a scope put down my throat. So all of those things took time, and therefore, rather than waiting and filing them all at one time, I just filed what I had when I had it. And that worked for me. I don't know if that's the best answer for everybody. If you have all your evidence ready to go, absolutely file it all at one time. Be aware that it may take a while to work through, right? I don't really have a good take on which is better. I would say what circumstances permit is probably the best way to go. At least that's how it worked for me. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Big thanks. Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas. I've been trying to get anyone I can to help with Nexus, but no bites. I'll have to throw the dice and deal with a lawyer and appeals. Okay, so Nexus letters. It is my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but it is my opinion that your doctor, as good as they are, and as much as they know you best and they care about you, write terrible Nexus letters. Just awful. Not because they're bad doctors, not because they don't know you, not because they don't care, but because they're not lawyers. And a Nexus letter is like a pseudo-legal device. It's sort of medical and sort of legal, and even worse, it's written in VA speak. And they're going to say things that the VA goes, yeah, okay, I don't care. And I've seen a bunch of those. I've seen doctors' notes that are being sent in as if they were Nexus letters saying that it's a well-known fact that veterans who had this also have this. That's not probative, and that's not a Nexus letter. I know it looks like one, okay, but it's not. The VA is not going to consider it. Probative, I should say. They'll read it, and they'll disregard it, in my opinion. But where does that leave us? Well, unfortunately, it gives us only a few alternatives. Some veterans go out and try to research what a Nexus letter should look like. What is its format? How is it written? What does it say? And then they boilerplate it and give it to their doctor or their specialist and say, would you put your name on this? Some doctors will, some doctors won't. VA doctors are notorious for saying no, and they'll often say that they're not allowed to, which isn't exactly true, but they are allowed to, but they don't want to, and you can't really make them, right? You can't force them to do it. And your doctor may not do it, and if they do, it may not be very good. So again, where does this leave us? Couple of options. Number one is you go out and find yourself a specialist who actually does this for a living, who writes Nexus letters. And you may think, hey, man, the VA is going to catch on to this. They're not going to like this. They're going to reject this. No, they don't. Not unless the person is like notoriously schlocky and is on a list of doctors that they absolutely detest because they lie or commit fraud or whatever, or don't know what they're doing. if you find a good medical specialist who does write Nexus letters, they're going to charge you a fee to write the Nexus letter and or DBQ. My experience thus far has been those claims sailed right through. The Nexus letter has made the difference. Do you need a Nexus letter with every claim? No. If you've got PACT Act stuff, you don't need to create the Nexus. It's already there. It's presumed, right? If it's a primary claim and you've got the evidence, you probably don't need a Nexus letter for that. Secondaries are a different story, and that's very, very often Nexus letters come into play. Now, long story short here, let me tie this off. There are other ways to get Nexus letters. One way is to go to a law firm. If a law firm believes that your claim has merit, they can take you on as a client, and they can either charge you based on a percentage of your back pay if and when you win. So they take it on contingency. So if you don't get the claim approved, you don't owe them any money. Or they can choose to charge you a fee up front, just like a Nexus letter writer would. But bear in mind that what these law firms are going to do is they're just going to line you up with doctors that they have in their employ or in their stable of contacts to do what you could have done yourself had you known the doctor's name and reached out to them directly. Up to you, entirely up to you. And of course, the other thing I mentioned is just roll the dice. Just put your claim in, wait to see what happens. If your C&P examiner makes your Nexus for you, you're golden. You won't need a Nexus letter. They did the Nexus letter for you. So you could always say, look, I'm just going to let things go. I'm going to see what happens, and I'm prepared to be denied. And if I am, then I will take the next step, right? So, hey, Nexus letters are not cheap. They cost me money, and I had to budget for them and had to save for them. I didn't do them all at once. But I considered it an investment because after I got to 100%, man, that money was paid back within a month. So I considered it a wise investment. All right, let's see. I will say I feel dumb at times trying to figure out how to use open chat, but I'll have to get my son to help me. At 65, it's rough for me. Hey, man, I get it. You know, I probably the only way I was able to dive into it fairly quickly is because we do AI where I work and because I'm an IT guy, right? So, yeah, it wasn't difficult for me, but I'm not surprised at all that it's difficult for others. You might consider just doing ChatGPT, you know, just through the web browser. It'll say, hi, you know, what do you want to talk about? And just type it in like you were talking to a person. But, you know, give it a try. Try a few things, you know, ask it questions, you know, what's the weather supposed to be like tomorrow in my zip code? Something like that, right? You know, dip a toe in the water, see how it goes. All right, Christmas got to go. Yeah, I'm going to have to go too. Thank you for all the great opinions. Really helps hearing this stuff from someone who has really been through this. Semper Fi. Semper Fi. Absolutely Semper Fi. Can't recommend Prestige Medical Consulting for enough for a Nexus if needed. Okay, great. I am glad to hear that, Salty Marine. You know, I think we should spread the word on good companies that can help each other out. So my particular choices so far, and they're limited to my own personal experience, right? But I have no hesitation in recommending them. So if you're writing this down, Dr. Tim Finnerty at nexusletters.com. He's a psychologist. He helped me very much with some of my claims. And then later on, I went to a psychiatrist, Dr. Prashant Sharma, and he's at Concise Psych on YouTube. And both were terrific. Both those claims absolutely sailed through and worth every penny from my point of view. And I really like Dr. Sharma. He is so personable. He is so caring. He is just a decent person. But he's a psychiatrist, so he's going to deal with secondaries from mental health conditions, as I understand it. If you go to nexusletters.com, Dr. Finnerty's webpage, he's a psychologist. He also only deals with secondaries to mental health conditions, but he has a list on his webpage of other doctors who might be able to help you with other conditions. I can't speak to those personally. I've never had to use any of them, but they're there, so I thought I would mention it. I hope you find that helpful. Okay, why don't we wrap it up? I don't want to. I want to keep doing this. This is so much fun. But yeah, I think we gotta stop now. I'm not even sure how to stop, but we'll figure it out, right? Thanks, guys. Thanks for everything. Merry Christmas to you all. Maybe we'll do another live stream before the new year, because this is kind of fun, and Radio HQ was right. It's a good idea. Come with your questions. I'll do the best I can. I am not an expert, and I am not employed by the VA. I'm not accredited by the VA. I'm not a rater. I'm not a VSO. I can't give legal advice, but if there's anything I can just kind of help with, veteran to veteran kind of thing, I'm happy to do it. And if I don't know, maybe some of the other people watching do. And I love the way you guys are helping each other out in the chat. Thanks so much. All right, this is Bill, Salty Old Marine. Please like, share, subscribe, do all the things, and have a Merry Christmas. Spend some time with your family. I hope it's joyous and safe and warm, and you get some good food in your stomachs. Take care.